Have you ever felt like you and your spouse are on opposite teams when it comes to parenting your kids? One of you says yes and the other says no. One's ready to hand out consequences and the other one says, nah, let's just let it go. These moments can be exhausting and honestly discouraging because it seems like you and your spouse just aren't on the same page. You're divided. So in this video, I want to share 6 practical suggestions to help you parent as a team together so that you can walk in unity, communicate with grace, and raise your kids from the same page. Because here's some good news. When you learn to parent as a team, everything changes. You'll stop arguing in front of the kids, start making united decisions, and create a calmer, more consistent home. You'll discover how to replace conflict with connection and confusion with clarity. Hi, my name is Kelly DuPee. I'm a pastor, police chaplain, Christian marriage coach, and author of the book, Turn It Up, How to Have the Lifelong Marriage That You Really Want. I help couples avoid the pain of divorce or breakup so that they can have the marriage or relationship that God wants them to have. And I'm here to help you. So I have 6 suggestions for you to start parenting as a team. Suggestion number 1 is this: don't decide alone. This one thing can save you countless arguments. Imagine this: you're home with the kids and your spouse is at work, and then your kid comes up to you, hey, can I go to my friend's house Friday night? Well, you can say yes, or you can say no, or you can say something much wiser. Let me think about it. Right? And that's the phrase that pays. That little phrase is going to protect your marriage, because here's what happens. If you say yes and then your spouse comes home, and I told Sally that she could go over to Jennifer's house on Friday, and she's like, what? She can't go over there. What about what we're going to do Saturday morning? And she's got a big game and blah, blah, blah. She's got all of these plans. So you see, now she's mad at you because you didn't talk to her first. So what you need to say to your kid is this: let me think about it. Because when you pause, you're saying, this decision matters enough for me to check in with your mom or dad. Then later you talk privately, decide together, and respond with we language. We decided, or your mom and I think. But here's the key though: don't throw your spouse under the bus. In other words, don't tell your kid, well, I'm okay with it, but your mom's probably not, or I'm okay with it, but let me talk to your mom. And then your son or daughter says, well, mom never says yes, or dad never says yes. No, don't throw your spouse under the bus. Instead, just say to your kid, let me think about it. And then you come back and you use the word we. We decided. That one word, we, teaches your kids that you and your husband or wife are united. Ephesians 4:3 says, make every effort to keep the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. Unity is what parenting is all about, but you have to talk to each other first. So the next time your child asks for something, smile and say, let me think about it. That phrase is gold. Now, your kid might push back on this. They might say, well, Sally's mom is on the phone and she needs to know now. We'll say, I'm sorry, I don't have an answer. Let me think about it. And basically you wait until you can then either text, call, or when your wife or husband gets home, talk to them about it first. Okay? So remember, let me think about it. Here's suggestion number 2. Schedule parenting strategy sessions. Some of the parenting challenges that are going to come up are predictable. In other words, just think about what are the things that we need to talk about ahead of time. Maybe these things seem like, what are we doing about homework? Or what about chores that don't get done? Or what about cleaning their room? Or what about lying? Or what about disrespect? So talk it over together. Don't wait for a crisis to talk about your parenting, but be proactive. Plan these regular parenting strategy sessions, time where the two of you get away from the noise and the kids and decide together how you'll raise your kids. You could grab coffee, go for a walk, talk if they're asleep, and then ask questions like this: what values do we want to shape in our kids? How do we want to handle things like discipline, chores, and then technology use? What kind of character do we want to build in our kids? These sessions are going to help you prevent conflict before it starts. Amos 3:3 says, how can two walk together unless they are agreed? Well, you can't walk in unity unless you have agreement. So talk early, talk often, and make these strategy sessions a regular part of your married life, just like date nights. All right, here's suggestion number 3. Practice the understanding first principle, or another way to say that is seek to understand before seeking to be understood. When you and your spouse see things differently, and you will, resist the urge to go into persuasion mode. Instead, make it your goal to understand their perspective. Let your spouse go first. Let him or her share their thoughts, the way they see the issue, and then listen. Try not to respond. Try not to interrupt. Just listen. Then repeat back what you hear. And a great way to do that is the phrase, so what you're saying is, or it sounds like, and then do that, and then ask them, is that it? Is that correct? Is that accurate? And then keep going until they say, yeah, that's it, because they may need to clarify it. Then you turn the tables. Basically, then it's your turn to express your feelings in your heart, and it's their turn to listen. Then you go through the same steps. You share your perspective, and they're focusing on understanding you. And then after you finish, they ask, is that it? And then you either get to clarify or add some more or say, yeah, that's it. Then once both of you feel understood, brainstorm together. What is a brainstorm? It's just writing out as many ideas that you can think of possible solutions without editing it. Then you go back through and you cross out all the dumb ones, and then you say, okay, what are we going to do? James 1:19 says everyone should be quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to become angry. That's not just good communication advice. It's a spiritual principle, because when both of you feel heard and understood, tension is dissolved and teamwork begins. And this is God's will for your life as well as for your marriage and relationship, that you would walk together as one. Genesis 2:24 says, for this reason, a man would leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two would become one flesh. Well, let me tell you, if there's one thing that's going to divide the two of you, it's probably could be your parenting challenges. So don't let that happen. Talk about these things, but focus on understanding each other first. And if you'd like to improve the communication overall in your marriage or relationship, not just regarding parenting, get my free couples communication guide. Just type guide in the comments or use the link in the description to order yours. Suggestion number 4 is this: aim for a win-win agreement. When you face decisions, look for win-win outcomes, not win-lose. What is a win-win? It's a solution you both are in favor of. Win-win isn't a compromise where someone loses. It's being creative. Let's say you want McDonald's, but your spouse wants Burger King. So you decide to go to Taco Bell instead. You let go and you find something that works for both of you. So when you do this right, when you focus on understanding and then brainstorm possible solutions, try then to come up with one that both of you agree with. Now, if one of you feels more strongly, it's okay to defer. That's not weakness. It's love and trust. And by the way, if one of your parenting styles is more strict than the other, my suggestion is to go with the one that's more strict, because it's always easier to back off something that's more strict in order to be more lenient and to give grace than it is to go the other direction. If you start out giving more grace, then it's much harder with that child to then add the consequence and the structure. So if you can't reach unity, by the way, hit pause, pray, and ask God for wisdom, and then come back to this later. Philippians 2:2 says, make my joy complete by being like-minded. Get on the same page and create win-win agreements. Win-win parenting means both of you feel understood valued and respected. And then it's a solution that both of you are going to fully implement. Not one of you saying, well, we'll do it your way. No. That's win-lose. Strive for the win-win. And even if you're the one who gives in and says, yeah, let's do it your way, that's okay too, like I said. But get behind it and pour your heart into that solution, not half-heartedly, but fully commit to implementing that. Are these tips helpful? I hope so. If so, hit the subscribe button now and the bell. All right, before I give you the last two, let's review. So what have we talked about? Don't decide alone. Have a strategy session. Focus on understanding each other rather than trying to be understood, and then create win-win agreements. Okay, suggestion number 5 is this. Remember, you're one flesh. As I mentioned earlier, Genesis 2:24 talks about being united to your wife and becoming one flesh. Parenting as a team isn't just a method, it's God's design. When you act as one, your home feels safe and secure. Your kids know the rules. They see love in action. But when you're divided, they feel that gap, and sometimes they'll even use it against you. You see, you'll face two big opponents. It's your pride and your kids' persistence. Pride says, my way is better. Humility says, maybe my spouse sees something I don't. And your kids, they'll test your unity because divided parents are easier to sway. What am I talking about? Well, basically, if you say yes and then your wife or husband says no, okay, who's the kid going to side with? They're going to become united with you because you said yes. So now it's you and little Johnny against your wife or against your husband. And let me tell you, as your kids become teenagers and then even young adults, that unity is going to be tested. So don't allow that triangulation to take place. What you want to do is become unified with your spouse and then respond to them as one. Okay, so stay united, stay humble, and stay one. All right, suggestion number 6 is this. Ask, believe, and confess. When unity feels hard, and it will, remember the simple pattern. Ask, believe, and confess. So ask God for help. It's simple. Lord, help us to find a place of agreement and move forward together as one. Lord, give us wisdom. Lord, give us patience. Whatever it is that you need, ask God. So A stands for ask, B is believe, and expect God to answer this prayer, that He is going to give you the wisdom that you ask for. And then C is confess it out loud. Thank you, Lord, for bringing us together. If you're stuck, don't be afraid to reach out and get help from somebody like me. That's not weakness, it's wisdom. Talk with a pastor, maybe somebody that's done this before, or reach out to a marriage coach like me. James 1:5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault. Team parenting takes work, but it's worth it, because when you and your spouse pray, decide, and lead together, your home and your kids are going to feel the presence and the peace of Jesus. So those are my 6 suggestions for parenting as a team. Here they are again. Don't decide alone. Schedule parenting strategy sessions. Practice focusing on understanding rather than being understood. Aim for win-win. Remember you're one flesh. And then ask, believe, and confess. When you live these out, you'll create unity in your marriage, stability in your home, and peace in your children's hearts. You don't have to be perfect, but you do need to be together. And if you'd like more on how to blend your parenting styles, I have another video as part of this series on parenting on how to blend your parenting styles together. It starts with identifying those styles and then blending them and how to do that. I'll put the video on the screen and then the link will be in the description. Well, God bless your marriage. God bless your parenting, and may He fill your home with grace and truth as you learn to parent as one.